It's been a while, hasn't it? We've actually done quite a few changes since our last devlog, so I'd like to fill you guys in on what we've been up to. Initially, we were stuck trying to find a new scene. The floating platform just wasn't doing it for me or my team anymore. We were really tired of it, and we just felt it did not fit in overall artistic style that we wanted. So we just decided to let it go. I mean, the colors were just way too distracting and saturated for the card game for it to work. So that's when I decided to explore new possibilities for our game maps. To capture the essence of the BMT experience, I scoured numerous NS forums trying to find something that would strike a powerful visual image and would work for the game. After some research, I decided I wanted to recreate that feeling of going to outfield in Tekong for the first time as part of your BMT experience, because I think this is rather memorable for most people in their BMT journey. The idea of a natural terrain just felt right as well, and I quickly sketched a few iterations out, and my team enjoyed this much more than the eyesore that I drew the floating platform with. Our backend had a really great idea, which is to make a 3D environment to contrast with the cards and the UI. I decided to learn 3D art. Let's just say the journey included lots of tutorials, confusion, and possibly a few tears. But I managed to create my first tree, and I was way too excited over this. In fact, I created a few more variations of trees, and even made the Tekong fairy from scratch without any tutorials. I think this was the first model I made without reference to any tutorial, so I was super proud. To create cohesion with the art style of the cards and the UI, I unwrapped the UV layer of the model and applied my own 2D hand drawing on the material to retain our cartoonish look. And here it is, voila! A 3D model to add depth to the Tekong forests or jungle, not sure which term is right. But something just didn't feel right. After all, I think it was the lighting that bounced off the models too much and it made them look too shiny. And because most of our art style was with a black outline, it also made it really difficult to believe it was like meant to be a cartoonish tree when it looked so 3D and realistic in a way. It just didn't work. So we actually had to do a full 180 and go back to 2D art. So what I did was that I redrew everything in Photoshop, referencing the 3D models for the perspective of the camera. I imported the art assets and created 2D sprites within Unity, and it worked so much better. The 2D trees now maintained their cartoonish style without compromising lighting or performance. So the scene now becomes a blend of 3D and 2D elements. To add more detail, I added some ground sheets and made sure the grass colors were visually pleasing but not too distracting from the cards like it was in the original design. Once I was satisfied with the scenes, I made different variations for 2 players, 3 players, and 4 players, adding different bits of details in each map to give it a bit more variation, so that when you play with a different number of friends, you are treated to a different visual each time. With 2 players, I added more trees, more tents, and even that truck that drives you all the way out into the forest. I felt that these elements added so much more texture and variance to the maps of the game. But when it came to the GUI, our back-end team suggested integrating it into the background alongside with the trees and everything to create a more seamless experience. It's not entirely realistic, of course. There's no discard pile area in the middle of Tekong, so we had to take some creative liberty. We decided to put the discard pile on top of the timer to highlight the urgency of the time limit during your turn. Originally, I framed them with a courtyard, as you can see with the first designs. If you were wondering why they don't make a return, it's because they were really ugly. And also, it made the colors blend in too much, so I opted for a more circular design and placed some rocks to frame the discard pile and the timer. These I modeled initially in 3D, which then I also turned into 2D, like with all the other assets. And here is the final look. It's definitely a big improvement from the original game that you saw in the first devlog. So that's all for this update. Obviously, there are a lot more changes that we have made to the game, and we'll be going into detail in the other devlogs very, very soon. In fact, can you even guess what we're going to talk about in the next one? So once again, remember to leave your feedback for us down in the comments below, and make sure to join our Discord. We are also opening up beta testing for the public, which is really exciting, which also means you get to explore the game world all by yourself without having to wait for the devlogs, and also get to talk with us personally. So thank you very much for everyone's support, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.